My family was planning to use me as the babysitter for 15 kids at the wedding. I changed my plans. Hook. 1 week before my son's wedding, I heard something that made my blood run cold. My own family was planning to trick me into babysitting 15 screaming children during the entire reception, without even asking me. What I did next will shock you. If you love stories about family drama and sweet revenge, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Table of Contents. Section 1. The Perfect Mother-in-Law, 1,000 Words. Introduction of Margaret Thompson, 72 years old. Her son David's wedding preparations. Meeting Emma, the perfect daughter-in-law. Margaret's generous wedding contributions, $3,000 buffet, decorations planning. The loving facade Emma maintains. Setting up the family dynamics and relationships. Section 2. The Shocking Discovery, 1,000 Words. The overheard conversation on the patio. Emma talking to her sister Sarah about the babysitting plan. The cruel words, old lady, free nanny, annoying interruptions. Margaret's emotional devastation and realization of being used. The depth of betrayal after 2 years of treating Emma like a daughter. Margaret's growing anger and determination. Section 3. The Secret Plan Takes Shape, 1,000 Words. Margaret's internal struggle and decision to fight back. Call to best friend Patricia for support and planning. Developing the revenge strategy step by step. Margaret's wisdom from 72 years of life experience. The emotional journey from hurt to empowerment. Setting the trap while maintaining the loving facade. Section 4. Executing the Perfect Revenge, 1,000 Words. Canceling all wedding preparations in secret. The morning of the wedding, David's frantic phone call. Margaret's calm response and revelation of the truth. The family's shock and panic as everything falls apart. Emma's mask finally falling off completely. The immediate consequences of their deception. Section 5. Justice Served and Lessons Learned, 1,000 Words. The wedding chaos and guest reactions. David and Emma's desperate attempts to fix the disaster. Margaret's final confrontation and truth-telling. The family's realization of how badly they treated her. Long-term consequences for relationships. Margaret's newfound self-respect and boundaries. The powerful lesson about respecting elders and family. Character list. Margaret Thompson, 72, the grandmother/revenge hero, was Charlotte. David Thompson, her son getting married, was Marcus. Emma Collins, the manipulative bride, was Tiffany. Sarah Collins, Emma's sister and accomplice, was Audrey. Patricia Williams, Margaret's loyal best friend, was Loretta. Key themes. Family respect and boundaries. The wisdom of age versus youthful manipulation. Standing up for yourself at any age. The consequences of taking advantage of loved ones. Sweet revenge served with dignity. Section 1. The Perfect Mother-in-Law. 1 week before my son's wedding, I heard something that made my blood run cold. My own family was planning to trick me into babysitting 15 screaming children during the entire reception, without even asking me. What I did next will shock you. If you love stories about family drama and sweet revenge, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more incredible true stories. My name is Margaret Thompson, and I'm 72 years old. I never thought that at my age, I would have to teach my own family such a hard lesson about respect. But sometimes, even grandmothers have to show people that they're not pushovers. It all started 6 months ago when my son David announced he was getting married. I was so happy. David had been alone for 3 years after his divorce, and seeing him smile again made my heart feel warm and fuzzy. When he brought Emma home to meet me, I thought she was absolutely perfect. Emma was 28 years old with beautiful blonde hair and the sweetest smile you've ever seen. She always dressed nicely and spoke so politely. "Hello, Mrs. Thompson," she would say with that charming voice. "Thank you so much for having me in your lovely home." From the very first day, Emma seemed like the daughter I never had. You see, I only had one child, my David, and I always wondered what it would be like to have a girl to talk to about recipes, shopping, and all those fun things mothers and daughters do together. Emma would bring me flowers every time she visited. Beautiful roses, cheerful daisies, and once she even brought me my favorite, purple tulips. "I saw these and thought of you, Mrs. Thompson," she would say with that sweet smile. "They reminded me of the beautiful garden you keep." In the kitchen, Emma was always eager to help. "Please let me wash those dishes," she would insist. "Your cooking is absolutely delicious. David is so lucky he grew up eating food this good." She would roll up her sleeves and work right beside me, asking questions about my secret recipes and family traditions. I was over the moon. Finally, David had found someone who appreciated family values and wanted to be part of our little clan. After being a widow for 8 years, having a young woman around the house brought such joy to my days. When David proposed to Emma last Christmas, I cried happy tears. They asked me to be involved in the wedding planning, and I jumped at the chance. "Mom," David said, hugging me tight, "we want this to be a family celebration. Will you help us make it special?" "Of course, sweetheart," I replied. "I'll do whatever you need." That's when I made what I thought was a generous offer. "You know what?" I said, getting excited. "Let me handle the entire buffet for the reception. I'll cook everything myself. It will be my gift to you both." Emma's eyes went wide. "Mrs. Thompson, that's so incredibly generous, but it's a lot of work." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," I said firmly. "I've been cooking for big crowds my whole life. I raised David mostly on my own after his father died, and I used to run the church potluck dinners for over 200 people. Besides, this way you can save money for your honeymoon." I started planning immediately. For 150 guests, I calculated I would need about $3,000 worth of ingredients. That was a big chunk of my monthly budget, but I didn't care. This was my son's wedding, the most important day of his life. I planned to make my famous honey-glazed ham, my grandmother's secret recipe for potato salad, fresh dinner rolls, 3 different types of vegetables, and my award-winning chocolate cake. I even offered to make the decorations and centerpieces to save them even more money. "Mom, you're an angel," David said, kissing my cheek. "I don't know what we'd do without you." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Mrs. Thompson, you're absolutely wonderful." David always told me how amazing his mother was, but experiencing it myself is something else entirely. For months, I threw myself into the wedding preparations with all my heart. I spent hours looking through cooking magazines, testing recipes, and making lists. I converted my spare bedroom into a wedding planning headquarters with fabric samples, menu ideas, and decoration sketches covering every surface. Every weekend, Emma would come over to help me plan. We would sit at my kitchen table with cups of tea, going over every detail. "What do you think about roses for the centerpieces?" I would ask. "Or should we do something more colorful?" "Whatever you think is best, Mrs. Thompson," Emma would reply. "You have such wonderful taste. I trust your judgment completely." I felt so loved and appreciated. Here was this beautiful young woman who actually wanted to spend time with me, who valued my opinions, and who made me feel useful and important. After years of feeling invisible as a widow, Emma made me feel like I mattered again. 3 weeks before the wedding, Emma started calling me Mom Thompson instead of Mrs. Thompson. My heart nearly burst with happiness. "Mom Thompson," she said one afternoon while we were addressing invitations, "I want you to know how much it means to me to be joining your family. You've made me feel so welcome." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "Emma, sweetheart, you're family now. I couldn't love you more if you were my own daughter." She smiled that perfect smile and squeezed back. "I feel the same way about you." Everything seemed absolutely perfect. I had the son I adored, a daughter-in-law who appreciated me, and a beautiful wedding to look forward to. I was spending my savings happily, working harder than I had in years, and loving every minute of it. Little did I know that in just 1 week, I would overhear a conversation that would change everything and reveal the shocking truth about Emma's real feelings toward me. It was a Tuesday afternoon, exactly 1 week before the wedding. I was in my kitchen making the final shopping list for the buffet, feeling excited and proud. My notepad was covered with calculations. How many pounds of ham for 150 people? how many dozen eggs for the potato salad, how much flour for the dinner rolls. The sun was shining through my kitchen window, and I could hear voices coming from the patio outside. David was on the phone with someone from his work, pacing back and forth like he always did when he talked business. Emma was sitting at my patio table with her sister Sarah, who had driven down from the city to help with last-minute wedding preparations. At first, I didn't pay attention to their conversation. I was too busy figuring out if I needed 6 or 7 bags of potatoes. But then I heard my name, and something in Emma's tone made me freeze. It wasn't the sweet, loving voice she always used with me. It was different, colder. I quietly moved closer to the kitchen window that looked out onto the patio. I stayed hidden behind my yellow curtains, feeling a little guilty for eavesdropping, but something told me I needed to listen. "Look, Sarah," Emma was saying, "I have everything perfectly organized for the kids at the wedding." Kids? What kids? I thought. We had talked about the guest list many times, but Emma had never mentioned anything special about children attending. Emma continued with that sickeningly sweet voice she always used around me. "David's mom is going to watch them during the whole party. There are about 15 kids coming, from babies to teenagers, but she's totally used to it. This way, we adults can enjoy ourselves without any annoying interruptions." My heart skipped a beat. Watch 15 children? During the entire reception? Nobody had asked me to do that. When had this been decided? Sarah burst out laughing. "That's so smart, sis. The old lady is going to take care of all those screaming brats while you guys dance, drink, and have fun. Perfect. That way they don't bother anyone during the ceremony or ruin the reception photos with their crying and running around." Old lady? Screaming brats? I felt like someone had slapped me across the face. Is that really how they saw me? As just some old woman they could use? Exactly, Emma replied, and her voice sounded completely different now. Mean and cold and calculating. "I already told David that his mom is great with kids and loves watching them. She won't even realize we're using her. She's always willing to help with whatever we need. It's like having a free professional nanny for the whole night." My hands started shaking. I gripped the kitchen counter so hard my knuckles turned white. They were using me? Planning to trick me into babysitting 15 children without even asking? Plus, Emma continued with a nasty laugh, "it'll keep her busy, so she doesn't interrupt any important conversations. You know how mothers-in-law are, always wanting to give their opinion about everything and telling boring stories about when David was little." "And she agreed to this?" Sarah asked. "We didn't even ask her directly." Emma laughed, and the sound made my stomach turn. "David just mentioned to her that there would be some kids at the wedding, and she immediately offered to help if we needed anything. Of course we said yes. She's perfect for the job. She has experience, and she's not going to charge us a thing." I felt like I couldn't breathe. There I was, standing in my own kitchen with flour on my hands from baking cookies for their wedding, having spent months and thousands of dollars to make their day perfect. And this whole time, they were planning to use me like a free employee. You know what the best part is? Emma continued, getting more excited. Since she'll be busy chasing kids around all night, she won't be able to eat much of the buffet she's preparing. More food for the important guests. Both sisters burst into laughter like this was the funniest joke they'd ever heard. My heart was pounding so loud, I was afraid they might hear it. 72 years of life, raising children, taking care of grandchildren, always putting family first, and this was how they saw me? Like some old servant they could order around? I stood there behind my curtains, feeling anger rise up from my toes, all the way to the top of my head. But it wasn't just anger. It was pain, disappointment, and a hurt so deep it made my chest ache. For 2 whole years, I had treated Emma like the daughter I never had. I had welcomed her into my home, shared my family recipes, included her in every holiday and tradition. You know what else I like about this plan? Emma kept going, completely unaware that I was listening to every cruel word. Since the old lady will be running after screaming kids all night, she won't be able to get into our adult conversations. You know how mothers-in-law are always interrupting with their 50-year-old stories that nobody cares about. Sarah practically fell off her chair laughing. Oh my God, yes. My mother-in-law does the same thing. always butting in with her ancient stories about the good old days. At least yours will be useful for once. Exactly, Emma replied. And the best part is that David thinks his mom is offering out of love. He doesn't realize we planned it this way from the beginning. Men are so naive. Just then, I heard David's footsteps coming back after he finished his phone call. "What are my beautiful ladies laughing about?" he asked in that loving voice he always used with Emma. Emma immediately switched back to her fake sweet tone. "I was just telling Sarah how well organized I am. I have everything sorted so our guests' children won't be a problem at the wedding. Your mom is going to watch them." "My mom is an angel," David said proudly, always willing to help the family. It's incredible how she still has the energy to run after kids at her age. "Yeah," Emma replied, and I could hear the smirk in her voice. "It's very convenient to have a mother-in-law like that." But David didn't catch the nasty tone. He never did. I stumbled away from the window, feeling sick to my stomach. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. This woman who had acted like the perfect daughter-in-law for 2 years, who had made me feel loved and needed, who had even started calling me Mom Thompson. She actually saw me as a free employee and an annoying old woman. I went up to my bedroom on shaky legs and sat on the edge of my bed. The same bed where I had slept next to my husband for 30 years before cancer took him away. I looked at the family photos on my nightstand, David graduating college, his first day of school, our family vacations when he was little. I had spent my entire life being the best mother I could be. And now, when I thought I was finally getting the daughter I always wanted, I discovered I was just a useful tool to them. But as I sat there feeling hurt and betrayed, something else started growing inside me. Something strong and determined. If they wanted to play games and use me, well, I had lived for 72 years. I had raised a child on my own, survived losing my husband, and dealt with challenges they couldn't even imagine. If they thought this old lady was going to roll over and let them walk all over her, they had another thing coming. It was time to show them that Margaret Thompson was nobody's fool. For the next 3 days, I acted like nothing had happened. When David called to check on the wedding preparations, I answered with my usual cheerful voice. "Yes, sweetheart, everything is going perfectly. The buffet is going to be absolutely delicious." When Emma came over on Wednesday evening with fabric samples for the table runners, I smiled and served her tea in my best china cups. "These colors are beautiful, dear," I said sweetly. "You have such wonderful taste." But inside my head, a plan was forming. A brilliant plan that would teach them both a lesson they would never forget. You see, when you've lived for 72 years like I have, you learn a few things about people. You learn that some folks will take advantage of kindness if you let them. You learn that sometimes being nice isn't enough. Sometimes you have to show people that you won't be walked all over. Most importantly, you learn that the best revenge is the kind that teaches people a lesson while showing them exactly how their actions hurt others. On Thursday morning, I called my best friend Patricia. We had been friends for over 40 years, ever since our kids were in elementary school together. Patricia knew me better than anyone, and she could always tell when something was wrong just by the sound of my voice. "Patty," I said when she answered the phone, "I need to tell you something, and then I need your help with a very important plan." "Oh, honey," Patricia replied immediately. "From your tone, I can already tell someone has made you mad." "Spill the tea, Margaret. Tell me everything." I told her the whole story from beginning to end. The months of preparation, the thousands of dollars I had spent, the love and care I had put into making their wedding perfect. Then I told her about the conversation I had overheard, repeating every cruel word Emma and Sarah had said about me. Patricia listened in complete silence. When I finished talking, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she let out a long, angry sigh. "Margaret Thompson," she said firmly, "that girl is a snake. How dare she talk about you like that after everything you've done for them? You've been nothing but generous and loving, and this is how she repays you." "I know, Patty," I replied. "But here's the thing, I have a plan, and I need your help to make it work." "Whatever you need, honey. You know I've got your back. What are we going to do?" I took a deep breath and explained my idea step by step. As I talked, I could hear Patricia getting more and more excited on the other end of the phone. "Margaret, "You are a genius," she practically shouted. "That spoiled little princess is going to get the surprise of her life. This is perfect." Here's what I had decided to do. If Emma and David wanted to use me as a free babysitter without even asking, if they saw me as just a convenient old lady they could take advantage of, then they could handle their wedding without my help entirely. I was going to cancel everything. The $3,000 buffet I had promised to cook, the decorations I had offered to make, the centerpieces I had been working on for weeks. All of it was going to disappear. And I wasn't going to tell them until the morning of the wedding. But Margaret, Patricia said, "Won't David be hurt? I know Emma is awful, but David is still your son." "Patty," I said sadly, "David heard Emma say I was going to babysit 15 kids, and he didn't question it. He didn't ask me if I was okay with it or if I had agreed to it. He just assumed his dear old mom would do whatever they wanted without complaining. He's just as responsible as she is." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "You're right, honey.
He should have protected you from this.
He should have asked you directly instead of just assuming." "Exactly," I said. "This isn't just about Emma. This is about both of them learning to respect me and treat me like a person instead of a free service." Over the next hour, Patricia and I worked out every detail of the plan. She would help me return all the food I had already bought to the grocery stores. She would help me cancel the orders for the items I hadn't purchased yet. Most importantly, she would be my backup on the wedding day in case I lost my nerve. "Margaret," she said before we hung up, "I am so proud of you for standing up for yourself. You've spent your whole life putting everyone else first. It's time people learned that your kindness has limits." That afternoon, I started putting the plan into action. I called the butcher where I had ordered the honey-glazed ham. "Hi, Mr. Peterson," I said sweetly. "I need to cancel that large ham order for this Saturday." "Oh no, Mrs. Thompson. Is everything all right? I thought it was for your son's wedding." "There's been a change of plans," I replied calmly. "The bride's family has decided to handle the catering themselves." Next, I called the bakery where I had ordered extra dinner rolls. Then the florist where I had bought supplies for centerpieces. One by one, I canceled every single thing I had planned for their perfect wedding. With each phone call, I felt a little stronger. These weren't cruel or mean actions. I was simply choosing not to give my time, money, and energy to people who didn't appreciate or respect me. On Friday, Emma came over for what she thought would be our final planning session. She sat at my kitchen table, completely unaware that I knew the truth about her real feelings. "Mom Thompson," she said with that fake sweet smile, "I just want you to know how much it means to David and me that you're doing all this. The wedding is going to be absolutely beautiful thanks to you." I looked at her sitting there, pretending to care about me while secretly planning to use me as free childcare. "Emma, dear," I said calmly, "I hope you have a wonderful wedding day." "Oh, we will," she replied happily. "Especially knowing that you'll be there to help with, well, if any of the guests need assistance with their children." There it was. She was trying to trick me into agreeing to the babysitting plan without directly asking. How clever she thought she was. "Of course, sweetheart," I said with my sweetest grandmother smile. "I'll certainly be there to help with whatever needs helping." Emma looked relieved. She thought she had successfully manipulated me into agreeing to watch 15 children without even having to ask directly. What she didn't know was that I had very different plans for how I would be helping on her wedding day. After she left, I sat in my living room looking at the family photos on my mantle. Pictures of David as a baby, his school graduations, family holidays. I felt sad that it had come to this, but I also felt something I hadn't felt in years. Powerful. For too long, I had let people assume that being kind meant being a pushover. For too long, I had said yes to everything without considering whether people truly appreciated what I was doing for them. Tomorrow was going to be a very interesting day. Emma thought she was getting a free babysitter and a magnificent buffet. David thought his wonderful mother was happily taking care of everything. What they were actually going to get was a lesson in respect that they would remember for the rest of their lives. The old Margaret would have suffered in silence, probably would have ended up watching those 15 kids while Emma and David partied. But the new Margaret? She was about to show them that this old lady still had some fight left in her. Saturday morning arrived bright and sunny, The perfect day for a wedding. Or so Emma and David thought. I woke up feeling calmer than I had in weeks. After months of stress and preparation, after days of hurt and anger, I finally felt at peace. Today, the truth was going to come out and justice was going to be served. At 9 a.m., my phone rang. It was David, and he sounded excited and a little nervous, like all grooms do on their wedding day. "Good morning, Mom," he said cheerfully. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Are you getting ready for the big day? Do you need any help loading the food into your car?" I took a sip of my coffee and smiled. "Good morning, sweetheart. I'm doing just fine." "Great. Emma is so excited about the buffet you prepared. She's been telling everyone how amazing her future mother-in-law is and how lucky she is to have you. The reception starts at 6 p.m., so what time do you think you'll arrive to set everything up?" This was it. The moment I had been both dreading and looking forward to. I took a deep breath and said very calmly, "Oh, David, I won't be coming to the wedding." There was complete silence on the other end of the phone. I could practically hear his brain trying to process what I had just said. "What? What do you mean you won't be coming?" he asked slowly. "Mom, this is my wedding. Of course you're coming. You're my mother." "Well, son," I said in the same calm voice, "I've decided that I don't want to spend your special day babysitting 15 screaming children while you and Emma party. And since that seems to be the only reason I was invited, I've made other plans." Another long silence. Then David's voice came back, higher and more panicked. "What are you talking about? Nobody asked you to babysit any children. And what about the buffet? Mom, you promised to cook for 150 people." "David," I said gently, "I overheard Emma and her sister Sarah talking on Tuesday. I heard everything. How they plan to use me as a free babysitter. How they called me the old lady and talked about me watching Screaming Brats so you adults could have fun. How Emma thinks I'm just a convenient tool you can use whenever you need something." I could hear David's breathing getting faster. "Mom, that's not. Emma would never. She also said that keeping me busy with children would prevent me from interrupting your important conversations with my boring old stories that nobody wants to hear." I continued. "And that since I'd be too busy chasing kids around, I wouldn't eat much of the food I spent $3,000 of my own money to prepare." "Oh God," David whispered. "Mom, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," I said. "Because you never asked me if I wanted to babysit 15 children. You just assumed that your dear old mom would do whatever Emma wanted without question. Well, I have news for you both. I'm not your free employee." "But Mom," David said desperately, "what about the food? The guests are expecting. We don't have anything else planned. The reception is in 9 hours." "Well," I said cheerfully, "I guess you and Emma should have thought about that before you decided to trick me into being your unpaid babysitter. Don't worry, though. I'm sure Emma's sister Sarah will have some great ideas about how to feed 150 people on zero notice." "Mom, please," David begged. "I know Emma made a mistake, but we can fix this. We can hire a real babysitter for the kids. You don't have to watch anyone. Just please come and bring the food." "David," I said firmly, "the food doesn't exist. I canceled all the orders on Thursday. I returned everything I had already bought. There is no buffet." The sound that came through the phone was somewhere between a gasp and a choke. You canceled everything?" "Every single thing," I confirmed. "The ham, the side dishes, the desserts, the decorations, the centerpieces. All of it. Gone." But, David was clearly having trouble forming words. "Mom, this will ruin our wedding. The guests will have nothing to eat. Emma will be devastated." "Well then," I said calmly, "Emma should have treated me with respect instead of planning to use me like a piece of furniture. Actions have consequences, son. Even at 72 years old, I deserve to be treated like a human being, not like a free service you can take advantage of." I heard voices in the background. Emma had apparently arrived and David was trying to explain the situation to her. Even through the phone, I could hear her voice getting higher and more frantic. "Let me talk to her," Emma shouted. "Let me talk to Margaret right now." David must have handed her the phone because suddenly Emma's voice was in my ear, but it wasn't the sweet, polite voice she usually used with me. This was her real voice, the cold, demanding one I had heard on the patio. "Margaret," she said sharply, "I don't know what you think you heard, but you are being completely unreasonable. You can't just abandon us on our wedding day over some misunderstanding." "Oh, it wasn't a misunderstanding, dear," I replied sweetly. "I heard you very clearly talking to your sister about how convenient it was to have a free old lady to watch the screaming brats while you enjoyed your party. I heard you laugh about how I wouldn't even realize you were using me." Emma was quiet for a moment, probably trying to figure out how much I actually knew. "Look," she said, her voice getting harder. "Maybe I said some things I didn't mean. Wedding planning is stressful and people say stupid things. But you're being incredibly selfish right now. This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life." "Selfish," I repeated, feeling my temper rise for the first time. "Selfish? I spent $3,000 of my retirement money on your wedding. I spent months planning and preparing. I offered to cook for 150 people as my gift to you both. And your response was to secretly plan to trick me into babysitting 15 children without even asking me, while calling me an old lady and laughing about how I wouldn't realize I was being used. And I'm the selfish one? You're ruining everything," Emma screamed, her sweet mask completely gone now. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is going to be? What are we supposed to tell our guests?" "Tell them the truth," I suggested cheerfully. "Tell them that you decided to use your groom's mother as free childcare without asking her, and when she found out, she decided she had better things to do with her Saturday than being your unpaid employee." "You are a horrible, spiteful old woman," Emma shouted. "David, your mother is insane." That's when I heard David take the phone back. His voice was shaky and desperate.
"Mom, please.
"I'm begging you. Even if you're mad at Emma, don't punish all our guests. People traveled from out of state for this wedding. They're expecting—" "Son," I interrupted gently, "I love you more than life itself. But love doesn't mean letting people walk all over me. You heard Emma plan to use me as free childcare, and you didn't question it. You didn't ask me if I was comfortable with it. You just assumed I would do whatever you both wanted." I thought you had volunteered," he said weakly. "When?" I asked. "When exactly did I volunteer to watch 15 children for an entire evening? Can you tell me the specific conversation where I offered to do that?" David was quiet because, of course, no such conversation had ever happened. "I've spent 72 years putting other people's needs before my own," I continued. "I raised you mostly by myself after your father died. I've been the helpful, accommodating mother and grandmother who never says no to anything. But I'm done being taken for granted." "So what now?" David asked, sounding defeated. "What are we supposed to do?" "Figure it out," I said simply. "You're both adults. You wanted to get married without treating me with basic respect, so handle your wedding without me. I'm sure Emma and her sister Sarah can come up with something. After all, they're so good at making plans behind people's backs." And with that, I hung up the phone. After I hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen for a moment, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, complete and total peace. For the first time in months, I wasn't worried about wedding preparations or shopping lists or making sure everyone else was happy. I was finally putting myself first. My phone started ringing again almost immediately. David calling back, probably hoping to change my mind. I let it go to voicemail. Then Emma called. Voicemail. Then David again. Then Emma's sister Sarah, who I had never even given my number to. They must have been getting desperate. Around noon, Patricia called. "Margaret," she said excitedly. "How are you feeling? Did you do it? Did you tell them?" "I told them everything," I said, smiling for the first time in days. "You should have heard Emma screaming at me, Patty. All that fake sweetness disappeared in about 2 seconds when she realized her free babysitter wasn't coming." "Good for you," Patricia cheered. "What are you going to do now? Want to come over, and we can have a nice lunch while they figure out how to feed 150 people?" "Actually," I said, "I think I'm going to go to the movies. There's that new romantic comedy playing at the theater downtown. I haven't been to the movies by myself in years. Margaret Thompson, you are my hero. Patricia laughed. Go enjoy your movie. You've earned it. So that's exactly what I did. While my son and his bride were running around town desperately trying to find food for their reception, I was sitting in a comfortable movie theater with a big bucket of popcorn, watching a sweet love story and feeling absolutely wonderful. Around 4 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text message from David. Mom, we managed to order pizza and sandwiches from 3 different restaurants. The wedding is still happening. I hope you're happy. I texted back. I'm very happy, sweetheart. I hope you have a lovely evening. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no, it gets even better. Patricia called me Sunday morning with all the gossip. Apparently, her neighbor's daughter had been at the wedding and couldn't wait to tell everyone what had happened. Margaret, Patricia said, barely able to contain her laughter, you will not believe what went down at that reception. Here's what I found out. When the 150 wedding guests arrived expecting a beautiful buffet dinner, they found pizza boxes and sandwich platters from random restaurants scattered across folding tables. No decorations, no centerpieces, no elegance at all. But the best part? Remember those 15 children Emma was so worried about? Well, with no designated babysitter, they ran completely wild during the reception. Babies were crying, toddlers were running between tables, and teenagers were causing chaos because no one was watching them. Emma spent her entire wedding reception chasing after screaming children instead of dancing with her new husband. Her beautiful white dress got stained with pizza sauce and spilled juice. Her fancy hairstyle came undone when a 3-year-old grabbed at her hair. She looked absolutely miserable, Patricia reported with glee. And David spent the whole night apologizing to guests and trying to explain why they were eating gas station sandwiches at a wedding. Several guests left early. Emma's own parents looked embarrassed and kept asking what happened to the wonderful dinner they had been promised. The whole thing was a complete disaster. But here's the most important part of the story. It didn't end with just a ruined wedding. 3 days later, David showed up at my house. He looked tired and sad, and when I opened the door, he immediately started crying. Mom, he said, I am so sorry. Emma told me everything. She admitted that she and Sarah had planned to use you as a babysitter without asking. She said she thought it would be fine because you always help with everything. I invited him in and made him tea just like I used to when he was little and had problems at school. David, I said gently, I need you to understand something. I have never minded helping you. I love helping you. But there's a difference between being asked to help and being tricked into doing something without your knowledge. I know, he said, wiping his eyes. Emma isn't the person I thought she was. When you canceled everything, instead of realizing she had done something wrong, she just got angry. She kept calling you names and saying you were being mean to her. And how did that make you feel? I asked. Terrible, David admitted. I realized that I've been taking advantage of your kindness my whole life. I just assumed you would always say yes to whatever I needed, so I stopped asking properly. I stopped treating you like a person with your own feelings and needs. David looked up at me with tears in his eyes. Mom, can you ever forgive me? I don't want to lose you over this. You're the most important person in my life. I reached over and took his hand. Sweetheart, you're my son, and I love you unconditionally. But things need to change. From now on, if you want my help with something, you ask me directly. You don't assume I'll do it. You don't let other people make plans involving me without checking with me first. And most importantly, you don't let anyone, not even your wife, talk about me disrespectfully. I promise, David said firmly. All of that. I promise. What about Emma? I asked. Is she willing to apologize and change how she treats me? David looked uncomfortable. That's actually something we're working through. Emma thinks you overreacted. She doesn't understand why you got so upset about watching some kids. She keeps saying she would have asked you directly eventually. I nodded sadly. David, a woman who truly loves you and respects your family doesn't call your mother the old lady or laugh about tricking her. A woman who cares about your happiness doesn't see your mother as a free service to be used. David was quiet for a long time. "I'm starting to see that," he finally said. "The woman I married isn't the woman I thought I was marrying." 6 months later, David filed for divorce. It turned out that once Emma's sweet mask came off, it never went back on. She continued to be demanding, disrespectful, and manipulative. Without me there to do everything for free, she expected David to hire cleaning services, caterers, and babysitters for every little thing. She had no idea how to be a partner, only how to be served. Today, 2 years later, David and I have a better relationship than we've ever had. He asks me before making plans that involve me. He stands up for me when other people are disrespectful. And most importantly, he treats me like a person with my own thoughts, feelings, and boundaries. I learned something important at 72 years old. It's never too late to demand respect. It's never too late to stand up for yourself. And it's never too late to teach people that your kindness has limits. Some people called me mean for ruining David and Emma's wedding. But I didn't ruin their wedding. Their own disrespect and manipulation did that. I simply refused to be their victim. The best part? I haven't been taken for granted since. Word got around the family about what happened, and now when people want my help with something, they ask nicely and make sure I'm truly comfortable with what they're requesting. My name is Margaret Thompson. I'm 74 years old now, and I'm nobody's free babysitter. But I'm still the loving mother, grandmother, and friend I've always been, just with better boundaries. And you know what? That pizza and sandwiches reception taught everyone a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a grandmother who's had enough. If this story inspired you to stand up for yourself and set better boundaries with family, smash that like button. Share this with anyone who needs to hear that it's never too late to demand respect. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories about people who refuse to be taken advantage of. What would you have done in Margaret's situation? Let me know in the comments below.